Welcome to ThinkLead. In fact, this is another division of ThinkLead. We call it ThinkME. It's a self-discovery ecosystem, helping you discover your best and authentic self so that you can lead at a whole new level. And that's what the world needs desperately. It's part of ThinkLead, which is a global leadership ecosystem. With me, GORDANA BIERNAT from Sweden. Fairly regularly, I have her on here, and we have these, as she refers to, conscious conversations. It's what the world is so rushed, and maybe the slowdown now allows us to have a little bit more of this. So GORDANA, today's conversation, last time we spoke about fear, because there seems to be a lot of fear out there. And today I just want us to look at discovering yourself, the true me, who, I've got to ask, do I know me? Do I know myself? But you have a book that seems to be about that, which unfortunately I haven't read, but Know the Truth, which is about knowing yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. It is about about the importance of knowing who you truly are. And it wasn't meant to be that when I started writing about it, but it became that because I understood that if you don't know who you are, then every action you take in this physical reality is per definition unconscious. You have to be present in your body and your thoughts and your mind and everything. You have to be present in order to make conscious choices. And that is why I think this is one of the most important questions we need to ask ourselves. Do I know who I am, or who am I? When I do talks, I usually ask people, what is the most important question you can ask yourself? And most people say, why am I here? And that is a very important question. But if you don't know who you are, then you can't even imagine why you are here. So you need to know who you are first, and then you can start exploring why you are here. Because knowing who you are, if I know who I am, I know who you are, because it's the same essence going through us. When I start figuring out why I am here, then I am exploring my desires and thoughts and dreams about this reality. But I still need to know who is doing the exploring and dreaming, and that is important. When we know who we are, it's easier for us to sit in calmness, to have a clear mind when we need to have that, because who we are is always a safe place within each and every one of us. It is when we run away in our ego minds that it becomes too much motion, too much of the outer world, and we forget who we really are. And we cannot make decisions based on a clear mind when we are in that state of mind, in the ego mind. So that is why I think knowing who you are is crucial if you want to explore this reality consciously.
So the importance of knowing me cannot be overstated.
No, it cannot be overstated. Absolutely not. This is crucial. As I say, if you do not know who you truly are, then you are exploring this reality asleep or unconscious. I can give you a hint. If you are always angry or acting violently, you are really asleep to who you are. Because when you know who you are, you cannot harm anyone else. You understand that they are of the same essence as you are, and that is like harming yourself. I'm not the first one on earth to speak about this. I mean, all the religions talk about it. Every guru knows this. But I would want more of the population on earth to understand this. So maybe we should teach meditation in schools and allow children to find out who they are early on, because we do not do that in schools.
I must tell you, of late, I've asked executives, I say, I'm going to ask you a very important question. And they go, okay. And I go, who are you? And I say to them, just rather say, who am I? Okay, I want you to ask that question to yourself. And I get responses like, I've never been asked that question. Mm-hmm. Or I've never asked myself that question, for example. But yet I'm an executive, or I'm a CEO, I'm quite high up in the hierarchy of things. So I can imagine that if the world allows me to get to the top without having ever asked that question, it doesn't mean I don't necessarily know myself. Things have happened by default where I have maybe. If I really have to think about it, I will realize kind of who I am. I mean, there's different levels, I'm guessing, which is why people reach some kind of success without necessarily asking and answering this question. But let's start there.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what is the best way of getting to know me?
There are many, many ways to do this, and most people would say meditation, because then you would connect to the stillness within. I must say that I have not been able to do when I was younger. I could not understand what meditation is because I was always in my thought mind. I was always thinking about things. So it's very tough to sit in silence and realize who you are. I think that, or you can have out of body experience, having an accident or something where you literally are forced to look at yourself from a higher perspective. Mine was when I gave birth to my son. I looked him in the eyes and I realized that he is the best version of me, but he is himself. And I realized that we are one of the same essence. If I want him to be authentic, I need to be authentic. Otherwise, he can't be authentic in this world. So I think a lot of the really tough experiences in life wakes you up to who you are. But you can practice this in every single now moment by adding time before you react. And there is always, always, always time to add. It doesn't have to be a long time. Before you say something or think something, just sit in stillness. That stillness is who you are. That stillness before you act, before you say something. When you just sit there, that is the stillness. For me, it's been an intellectual process as well, not just an experience of looking into my son's eyes. The intellectual process is when I read about other people who have obviously come to the conclusion who they are, that they're the stillness from within, when they say that you are not your body, you're the one using your body. You are not your thoughts. And that was an aha moment for me. You're the one thinking the thoughts or looking at the thoughts or exploring your thoughts. You're not your feelings. You're the one feeling them. So in my mind, I went as far as thinking of thoughts, feelings, and my body as instruments or tools that I use to explore this reality. So for me, I needed the intellectual process to understand it fully. And it took, I think I was 30 something when I read this sentence the first time: you are not your body. We are so identified with our bodies that we cannot, it's a big step to go from being identified in your body and understanding that you're just using this body. There is an I within you using that body. So I think it's on many levels. You can meditate yourself to this, but then again, if I meditate, I need to take that state of mind into my real world, and there's a disconnection there. I can meditate and then I go into the real world and I'm ego triggered. But if I understand it on an intellectual plane, that I am not this body, I'm using this body, and reminding myself every time I forget it or something triggers my ego, it's a process, and you have to do it in the now moment every single time. So you can't do it like that. It takes time to do so, but you understand it.
I mean, I find that I wake up much earlier than my family, and I spend the better part of hour and a half in stillness and reading and pondering and praying, and I find that I do discover that stillness. And then my family wakes up, and then my kids fight, and then they don't want to get out of bed, and then they don't get going with their schooling on time. And I'm a pretty stick to the task person, and stick to your commitments if you committed to something. Before I know it, I do get a bit angry, or I lose it a bit, or I'm agitated or annoyed. So going back to your statement earlier, that when you get angry, or maybe you say when you get angry too much or at any given time, then you haven't discovered yourself fully, or you're not living according to who you are fully. Just explain that statement a little bit more.
Well, it's not about you wakening up and living in that state forever, because the beauty of this physical reality is that it is supposed to give you triggers, and you're supposed to say no. You're supposed to recognize the trigger, which means that you have to see it or feel it, like when your children are not doing what you expect them to do, and you get triggered into being angry. And here's the beauty: you can stop and say, no, I'm not going that path. I am not going to be angry. I will explore it from another perspective, using your free will to do so. And that is what I mean when giving yourself time. When you feel that the ego is pulling or wanting you to fall asleep, to become angry, or, well, not violent, but to become agitated, you can always say no. There is time for you to say no. And that is something that we do not, no one teaches us this. We are always supposed to answer, to explain ourselves. And that makes us fall asleep to the free will to say, no, wait a minute, I need to think about this. Is this the state of mind I want to be in? We're just in it, per definition, automatically going into that state of mind because it's habitual. That is how we've lived our lives. And when you stop, when you start to illuminate yourself from within, you recognize that this is not who I am. I'm exploring anger, or I'm exploring agitation, but that is not me, because you can go back and you can be still, which means that that cannot be you. It's something you're exploring. So giving yourself the time, and it has to be done in the now moment. You can't prepare for it because your kids will trigger you. I have a 22-year-old son, and this morning I had one of those. I mean, I went into explaining things to him, and I couldn't understand. Why doesn't he understand what I'm saying? Because he had another opinion. But I mean, so what if he has another opinion? I'm triggered, so I need to pull back and say, no, this doesn't mean anything to me. It's just a conversation.
So this statement, falling asleep to your free will. So whenever, I guess, except in exceptional situations when I get angry to defend my family's life, maybe, but whenever I get angry, let's say, or agitated, then I have fallen asleep at that moment, for that moment, to my free will. And it's a very powerful statement. I just wanted to go to quickly check on that anger thing. So I can discover my stillness in the morning, or myself, reconnect with who I am, and then I'll have triggers all throughout the day, and I must be aware of them and not fall asleep to my free will, or to who I really am, as in your language, I think. But let's just go a step back again to discovering who I am. So there are methods to discovering who I am, but are there, or is this the intellectual process? Are there questions that you could ask people? So if you had someone with you for a day and they said, please, I'm going to pay you today, help me discover who I am. I'm using an arbitrary example. It might take 10 years, but what kind of questions are you going to ask that person? Or are you going to say, go and meditate and find some stillness, sit out there in the bush? That might be part of it, but surely some questions can help.
Yes, well, maybe I wouldn't give that person a question. I would ask that person to ask the questions to themselves. For instance, if you are in an argument and you want to win, be sure that it is your ego that is speaking, because it wants to win always. So when you feel the urge to win, to argue, to be on top of things in a situation, it is your ego that is triggered. You have to ask yourself in every situation, what am I adding to the situation? Am I adding clarity, or am I adding confusion? Am I adding anger, or am I adding calmness? Am I adding fear, or am I adding love? And you have to ask yourself that question and be honest when you answer it, because the ego will add fear. the ego will add confusion because it wants to win. So you want to confuse the other one, or you want them to feel fear because you want to win. But if you're honest enough and you allow who you truly are, which means we are all unconditional compassion and love and kindness. That is who we are, our essence. Every single being on earth comes from that source. It is all inclusive. There is nothing outside of it. So that means that its quality is all inclusive. If you are not all inclusive in a conversation, your ego is speaking. So you have to ask yourself, what am I adding to the situation? What frequency am I allowing into this room through me? What is my state of mind? What is my state of consciousness when I am here? For instance, when I'm speaking with you now, I can ask myself, what is my state of consciousness? Well, I am present and I am open to your questions. I'm not sitting here planning what is going to be the next question because I want to look good. I want to look better than Adriaan. I am present because my goal is for us to grow consciousness, for people to come here and to grow in consciousness. So I need to be present. That is my state of consciousness right now. Just asking the question will put you in a higher frequency than not asking it. So that's one way of coming closer to who you truly are.
So if who we truly are is in a way the opposite of winning, wanting to win, or anger, or being agitated, yet society allows someone to become the president of the United States of America with a philosophy, a life philosophy of winning. That's it. Winning. It's all about winning. And therefore, I won all the way to the top. I'm the president of the most powerful nation in the world, in the history of the world. Why would people get to know themselves if you can get so far without necessarily heeding that true self voice inside you?
Well, because it is painful to live in the ego mind. I mean, they're not laughing in the US right now. It is immensely painful to live in the ego mind for longer periods of time. I'm not saying that it is wrong to want to win, because it's about desires. If it is a sound or a healthy way of wanting to win, having fun while you're doing it, there's no problems with that, because we all have desires here in the physical world. So we need to explore them. This is why we have an ego. The ego contains our desires when it is a healthy ego. It is when we live in the ego mind and never leave the ego mind that it becomes really, really painful. And then you're sitting there with all this emotional pain and not understanding how you got there. Maybe the emotional pain wakes you up and you say, why am I feeling like this? What is happening here? And that is your trigger to awaken. I mean, how much emotional pain can you take before you awake? So I think that what is happening in the US is, I mean, their president is only an expression of something that has been going on for a long time. So he's just an expression of that. He wouldn't be able to be the president in a country where winning was not such a big deal. But it is a big deal in the American culture to win. And sometimes that is good, but it's not good to stay there all the time. You have to be in a different state of mind. Otherwise it drains you and it becomes painful. But as I said, every time you deviate from who you truly are, from your soul source, you will get some kind of emotional pain, because that is a signal that you're deviating from who you truly are here. And it is telling you, get back in alignment with who you are. If it is meditation or practicing kindness or sitting in nature or asking yourself the right questions, that depends on who does it. But it's still a signal that you need to come back to in alignment with who you truly are. And I think we are in the world. We are in this place now where we feel like we need to come back in alignment with who we truly are. And that doesn't have to be, it doesn't even have to be a painful process, because it's easy to come back to who you are. It's just to relax and start to be kind and loving. It's easy. It is the imprisonment that we have put ourselves in the ego mind. I mean, we have a collective ego consciousness going on right now. This is why it is so tough to be a leader, even if you are a conscious leader, because you have to fight this ego monster out there all the time.
So would a statement that says, trying to discover my best self at all times, be a synonym to finding my true self?
Yes, because I think that we all have desires in this world. It is how we explore these desires and what kind of filters we use when we explore the desires. I think it is Plato that says that you need to ask yourself 3 questions. That is it true? Is it good? Is it beautiful? If the answer is yes, then that's a good action. If the answer is no to one of these, you're not supposed to act that out. And I've been having this, I call it love filter. I never, ever put out anything in social media that hasn't passed my love filter. And the love filter is this true? Is this loving? And is this good for all? Because it might be good for me, but it doesn't mean that it is good for everyone. So there is a responsibility, what you put out there in the world for people to see. And that is your responsibility. You're the gatekeeper of what frequency is coming out into this world. So you need to start to ask questions. Is this true? Is this good? Is this beautiful? And let's say that it's true, but it's not good, then why would you share it with anyone? So it has to fill all the 3 criteria. Otherwise, I mean, if you're a scientist and you find something that is really, really, it is new, but it is not good because it will take humanity down the drain. Are you going to publish it because your ego wants to be known, you want to have the Nobel Prize? Or are you going to say, no, I'm not going to publish this. This is not good for everyone. And you keep it to yourself. And this is consciousness speaking within you. If ego speaks, you publish it. If ego is under control, you don't publish it. That's the difference.
Incredible self-restraint, that, and it's, I don't know if anyone ever finds themselves, their true self, and then remain true to that person every single day, every moment. I'm guessing not, but because that's the nature of this world, is to be tested and to maybe take that true self to another level as you stop and not fall asleep to your free will and your true self. So if I say to you, Gordana, who are you? Then you could answer and say, I'm Gordana Biernat. I was born in Sweden and raised here, and my parents are so and so and so and so, and I studied this and I studied that. So it's a very superficial, who am I? And I can say, who are you really?
And I would answer you.
Yeah, then
I would say, yes, I would say, I am all that is, exploring this reality through the desires and passions and thoughts and actions of Gordana Biernat. Gordana Biernat is contained in a way by my ego, because otherwise I would be all that is. So the ego contains my desires, passions, thoughts, everything that happens in this physical world with my personality. But I am all that is, exploring that through the ego here. And the trick is to use the ego wisely. It's not about putting aside the ego and becoming one with everything, because then I cannot function in this reality. So I need to use my ego wisely. That is why I need to remember that I am love incarnated here. If I forget that, then I will misuse the ego and I become the president of the United States. It's as simple as that. That is what it means to fall asleep, when you misuse the ego.
And all these assessments, that personality assessments, what is your view on that? Helping people understand what their personality is like. And then there's a bit of a put you in a box scenario, perhaps. It says, well, this is your personality type. You're a you're a ENTJ in the MBTI test, or you're a dominant D in the DISC test, or all these different assessments. What are your thoughts on that in terms of helping people discover who they are?
I think it's a lot about to do with belief systems that are on a subconscious level that we are taught as children. And those belief systems work like filters in this reality. So if you have a strong belief system telling you that you're a dominant person because you had a little sister at home and you dominated her, and you heard this all your life, that you're a dominant person, you might believe that that is who you truly are, and you will explore the world through that filter. But it might turn up later on in life that you're not at all dominant. That is not who you truly are. So I think that it's about the belief systems that we are inflicted with as children, and they become as filters later on. I think that just searching the true self, just looking for who am I from within, will change your personality. So the personality is changeable. I say keep the good stuff and release the rest that isn't working for you. Just work it off, release it. Of course, we're changing all the time. I'm not the same Gordana as I was when I was 20. And thank goodness for that, because I have evolved. The trick is to release what isn't working for you. Most people say, well, I've been doing this for such a long time and I'm back on square one. Nothing is happening. I mean, I work here. I really want to know who I am, but there's more and more problems all the time. Well, that is how life is, but not to beat yourself up when you are met by challenges or adversity. It's supposed to teach you something of who you are in that now moment. You might change the next moment. You don't know who you're going to be tomorrow. You might have a near-death experience and everything changes. I had that when I was 17 or 18 in a car accident. And when I walked out of the car, I thought, oh my God, this world looks different. And it did, because something changed within me. I understood that I'm an eternal being.
Mm.
And that changes everything. It releases all the fog and the filters that are there, because I know that it's just here. The filters are here. I am something different. I am exploring them. I can choose. I have free will. This is why they say that free will bends the fabric of the universe, because it does. It is yours to choose. You can choose whatever you wish to be, to look through the lenses that you're using, the belief systems that you're using. I mean, some belief systems are good and you can use them. Some are not good. Parents, teachers, bullies at school inflict them upon us. And yet we cannot discern which belief systems work for us and which don't. When we are grown-ups, we think that everything we have, we need to explore reality through everything. You can say, this does not work for me. I want to try that instead.
Mm.
But you have to be aware in the now moment that you have different belief systems going on. You have to understand that what a belief system is.
Yeah. It's very challenging, because in a way, for me to discover me, the real me, I need to divorce myself from the world. And that's the be still thing, because if I'm in a harsh corporate environment, there will be very strong belief systems that say you're only successful here if every 2 or 3 years you move on and up. You're only successful here if you become a director in 10 years, 15 years, because look, that guy did it, and that woman did it, and so on. Or just in society in general, we're so interconnected through social media and through media and digital environment that the world starts influencing our belief systems, who we should be and what makes us happy, and all the stars and these actresses that look so beautiful and perfect, but they spend 3 hours in the gym every day and have advisors and personal trainers, but you as a mother with 3, 4 kids can't do that, So, and it goes across the board. So the ability to actually be still and divorce myself from my bunch of belief systems around me so that I can think about who am I really is super important, and probably daily.
Yes. You know why you have to divorce yourself from the world that you just described, the corporate world, the social media? Because it's artificial. And your soul knows this. If you go out in nature, you don't need to divorce yourself from anything there. Actually, you're absorbed by nature because it is of the frequency that is the same as your soul. So that is why you can connect to yourself through nature, because nature isn't artificial. It is not made up by human beings. All the belief systems are made up by human beings, which means that you can choose them because human beings made them. It's like choosing furniture in your room. You wouldn't put everything in your room that everybody gives you. You would say, I like that, I do not like that. But we don't do this with belief systems because they're sticky. They're multiplying themselves. If we're not attentive, if we're not looking at them and asking, why am I thinking this way? Why would I do this that way? They perpetuate themselves and become stronger and stronger. And then it's like fish in the water. You don't see that you have a belief system that is working for you. The more illuminated you become from within, or the more connected you become with who you truly are, the more you can see people's belief systems working. You can see it when you look at people talking. You can hear that it is egos talking and the belief systems going between them. There is no consciousness there. The more you know who you truly are, you can see that. And the more you start to feel compassion for it, and the less you engage in it because you know that it is artificial. It's not about not engaging in society. It's about choosing with whom you want to engage and how you want to engage.
Which can be very difficult if I have a good corporate cushy job. I can't choose who I must engage with and who I'm engaging with. And that's why the corporate environment can often be very superficial, because it's all games and it's just pleasing people and it's trying to get along, and some good things, but in general, very difficult to maybe just be yourself. I don't know, I might be wrong, but that I know a lot of people experience. So would it be fair to say, maybe my last question, and then I'll ask you what else you would like to share with leaders and anyone listening to this out there, that I could be running a country, I could be running an organization, my family, doesn't matter. My most important project ultimately is me.
Yes, the most important relationship you will ever have in your life is with you. Because you are in a relationship with you. You have this ego mind talking, you have your soul whispering. And you have to listen to those two because you're the listener in all this. And if you are in a very, very close relationship with your ego, you will be in pain most of the time. So it's about the silent voice from within. Listening to that voice and taking the time to listen to it, because the way society is created, it is not giving you the time, the silent time, to listen to that voice from within. And you need to listen to it every now moment. Even when you are in a conversation with others, you need to listen to that silent voice telling you that it's a kind person. When you are going into, let's say that you are going into anger, you need to stop and listen to the silent voice that will explain to you that this person that is making you so angry is actually in pain. You need to recognize that. So just giving yourself time to listen to that soft voice. Listen to the ego too, but know that you are its master. It's not your master. And to always in the now moment be in connection with that truth. It is a hard task. It's not easy in the world that we have created. But if nobody does it, then, look at the alternative. That would be everybody is asleep and only ego is speaking. And I wouldn't want my children to grow up in that world. So I feel like this is why I am on this mission. I want to help people grow in consciousness. But any way I can do that, I will help them grow in consciousness by having conscious conversations with them, or writing books, or whatever it is, talking. because I feel that I cannot leave this world asleep. Then my son won't be able to live his full potential, because you can't. Through ego, you can never live your full potential. So soul awakening all the time, and being able to hear the silent voice, to give yourself time and silence to hear it, which means that don't talk. My mother used to say, when you feel agitated, take a sip of a glass of water, just take a sip of the water and hold it in your mouth. And I didn't understand, why would I hold it in my mouth? I want to swallow it. And she says, hold it in your mouth because it gives you time to think and not react. When you have the time to think, you will act instead of react. And I think we've talked about this. When you react, I talk about frequencies. You have a certain frequency which you're sending all the time. And that frequency changes depending on what mood you are in. So let's say that you're in a good mood and someone triggers you into a bad mood. What you're doing here is you're creating your reality through the frequency that you're sending out. If you are reacting to someone else's frequency, then you will be hooked on that frequency. That is a lower frequency. You will be hooked on that frequency, and you start creating a reality based on that frequency, not on your own frequency. So when you're in a drama, for instance, you're creating a reality in which you cannot recognize yourself because it is someone else's frequency you're creating through. So this is why it's important to take a sip of water and keep it in your mouth before you answer or react. That is a way to disconnect from a frequency which will drag you down and to stay in your own frequency. So listening more, giving yourself time to, before you react, is crucial. And then asking the right questions. What am I adding to the situation? Calmness or calamity?
I guess that's the important thing, is to know what questions to ask yourself so that you don't fall asleep to your free will, let's say, so that you can create that space between acting or acting upon or being acted upon. Now, before you give your parting thought, I feel like I'm regressing our conversation with this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because I think a lot of people look at the Donald Trumps of life, or the CEO in their business, or the top musician who's just selling albums like crazy and saying they don't look like they're in pain. I can see the winning attitude. I can see the ego speaking. I can see the whatever you want to call it, but they don't look like they're in pain. So I want to be there.
Of course, they don't look like they're in pain. But I mean, truly, when they are all alone in their empty big houses, do you think that they are enjoying it? Most people are not enjoying this. They might look like it, but I don't think that they are happy. If you would go out on the street and see someone that is sitting totally calm, enjoying anything that goes by, you would say, that looks like a happy person. This is just an illusion. And it's easy for young people to buy into the illusion, but I don't think that those people are happy. There is no one on earth that is happy all the time, enjoying and not being in pain. And I think that the pressure on these people that are in social media, the rock stars and all that, there is an enormous pressure. This is why a lot of them are addicted to some kind of drugs or alcohol or whatever, because they want to ease the pain. But when you're on stage, you don't show that. You show the great surface that you are actually. So I don't think that they are not in pain. I do think that they are in pain. I actually know that they are in pain. Not all of them, but a lot of them are in pain.
You can then try and drown that pain with all your money and doing things and buying beautiful houses. And Gordana, what's your parting thought? A deep conversation. Thank you as always for your time. But before I close off, what would be your parting thought in this loud, noisy world that we find ourselves in, and people need to become still?
Understanding that success, because we talked about these famous people that are never in pain, I would say that success is not a question of how much money or power you have acquired. Success is a question of how satisfied you are with who you are in the now moment. So for me, this is why you have to know who you are. When you know who you are, you will be satisfied with who you are in the now moment. There is no other option when you know who you truly are, because that is, as I said, love incarnated. When you are in that state of mind, you understand that everything is good. You don't need to improve anything. You don't need to act upon anything. You can just sit and be satisfied with who you are. That is success to me. To chase something else as success will ultimately give you pain in one way or the other. So leading yourself by knowing who you are, or at least trying to find out who you are in every now moment, not beating yourself up when you are not able to see yourself in the now moment, when you act upon ego, staying kind to yourself and trying again. The trying is actually what you need to do. It's not about succeeding in it. It is the trying in every now moment to allow more love into this reality through you. That is what success is for me.
Gordana Biernat, all the way from Sweden, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on getting to know ourselves, the real me, and the impact that that can have in our own lives, in our families' lives, in society. And good luck with your mission as always. I'm pretty sure we'll have another conversation soon as I also grow in my, as you say, consciousness. And we thank you for joining us on ThinkMe, which is a self-discovery ecosystem, helping leaders discover themselves so that they can lead on a whole new level. We need that in this world desperately. And of course, as I say, it's part of ThinkLead, which is a global leadership ecosystem. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Adriaan. Thank you.
Bye-bye.